Alright, what's going on everybody? I'm back again today, and today I'm going to do a video just kind of about me for the channel. Uh, Something that I think I've talked about in some of my nerd talk, nerd chat videos with Zach is that I think of myself as a pretty avid gamer. Somewhere along the way, throughout my life, I acquired a PlayStation 4, an Xbox One, and a Nintendo Switch, and I have a gaming laptop that I bought specifically for taking with me when I travel. And I own a decent number of games. Do I play video games as much as I would like to? No, I'm almost 28 years old. I work full time. Like, I don't have as much time as I would love to, but hey, I mean, that's part of being a functioning adult nerd, is like you gotta know when you have the time to do this nerdy stuff and play games, read comics, and you gotta know when you need to put it down, turn it off, and get some real work done. So, without further ado, I want to talk about some types of games that I love, the ones that I like the most, genre-wise, and then within that genre, I'll give some examples of the specific games that I really like. So, I guess we'll start off with what seems to be my least favorite out of the ones that I actually like to play. So, right off the bat, I don't do racing games. I just don't. I also don't do sports games. Like, if I don't like going out and actually playing the sport in real life, I don't know why I would like it playing a game of it. So, the only sports games I guess you could maybe say I'd be willing to play would be like some kind of like boxing game or UFC game, but at that point it's more of a fighter anyway, which is our first category, which is fighters, and the only fighter that I play is Smash Bros. It's the only one, and I don't even play this by myself. You will pretty much never find me just sitting up here in the room or anywhere with my Switch just playing Smash Bros by myself. This is a game I bought and I keep solely for group play. If I have friends over, for anyone who's new to the channel or hasn't caught on, I'm in the Navy, so when we go out underway on the ship, there's a lot of Smash Bros tournaments. There's a lot of cooperative, local co-op gameplay going on between people because we don't have internet. So this is just a game I keep kind of in my back pocket for that. I'm not big on fighters either, but this one's fun, and I do enjoy a lot of the characters because they're from other games that I love. So it's fun to see them in a setting where they're battling each other. So that's probably the only fighter I really play. Moving on from that, we've got RPGs. Now, I've got, let's say, I want to say two different examples here of RPGs that I really love. So I have 2 Final Fantasy games and 2 Witcher games. I love both series, however, the one, like, out of the 2 of each, there's one I love more than the other. So we'll start with Final Fantasy. Here I've got Final Fantasy 15, Final Fantasy 7. I've also played Final Fantasy 12, which I have on my Switch right now, but I bought it digitally, so I don't actually have the game to show you. And then I play Final Fantasy 14, the MMORPG, on my laptop. So, decent Final Fantasy fan. I don't really get into the old stuff. Like, I have some opinions about video games that I'm pretty set in stone on. Like, I think turn-based combat outside of like a Pokemon game is just outdated. Like, it's from a time when we couldn't do faster-paced, awesome-looking, thrilling combat in video games. We had to just do turn-based and let like a computer decide shit. But we can do it now. We've seen games, RPG games, like both of these, where the combat can be fast-paced and thrilling and cool to watch and cool to play. So yeah, like, if it's an older Final Fantasy game with like some kind of, antiquated turn-based combat system, it's not really my thing. I played a decent bit of Final Fantasy X back in the day, and I never finished it because after a while I just got bored. I just got bored back and forth, back and forth. But anyway, out of these 2 games, this one I've beaten, this one I still have not gotten all the way through, but out of these 2 games I can tell you I like this one more. Why? Because it is streamlined. This is a very huge big open world RPG. And I am probably one of the few people, I don't know, I mean, I'm sure there's other people out there like me, but I would prefer a game that's not open world as opposed to one that is open world. Now, let me be clear, that's because I find that when game companies try to make open world games, they struggle to fit enough stuff into the game that's both fun to do and doesn't require me to have to completely veer off from the main objective of the game to go do it. Because I'm not going to do that. Like, one of the things, I play video games for the same reason I read books, watch movies, read comics. I'm there to escape real life and go into another world and experience a story, a series of events going on in this other world or this other reality. And it's about the story for me. So if I have to completely veer away from the story to go do this other side stuff you crammed into this game, I don't really want to do that, because the story is what gives me my motivation for doing anything in the game. Like, when we talk about The Witcher, the reason the Witcher series is one of my favorite RPG series, specifically 2 and 3, 1 is, anyone who's played 1 kind of understands, like, it's not, by today's standards it's bad, but for when it came out, it's kind of like, it's not bad, but anyway, one of the key things where, like, you play these games, the Witcher games, and you immediately know that they are story-driven games, is because they have a main protagonist. Not many RPGs out there have a main protagonist. A lot of them are create your own character and design them however you want, and then they end up with this kind of just, they're in the world. They're in the world, they're doing stuff, but they're not part of it. They're just an add-on. They're just it's your avatar. It's just an avatar that allows you to kind of be in there, but you don't really do anything. Another good example of a game with a good protagonist that you actually could customize and do different things with is Mass Effect. I love the original Mass Effect trilogy. Those are really good games. I don't have them right now, but I'm thinking about rebuying them and playing through them again. But for me, yes, it's the story. And when it comes to The Witcher 3 and Final Fantasy 15, these are huge, gigantic open world games. However, if there was a gun to my head and I had to pick one of these to play, I'm going to play Witcher 3, because the problem with Final Fantasy 15 is they wrote a pretty decent main story, but the game world is huge and it is not filled with interesting enough things to do. There's actually, the plot of the game is that you're a prince, your kingdom has been overthrown by an evil empire, your father's been killed, and now you need to rally the troops, rally your buddies, and save the day. That's the general gist of the game. Within that context of that main story, there is a side mission where this photographer asks you if you'll go take pictures. He's like, hey man, I'm having a hard time getting all my photography work done. Can you help me out? And it just does not fit with that main premise of you're a prince whose kingdom has been overthrown and you need to get it back. It seems so odd. And that's a side mission. There's actually a main story mission in this where the whole objective, it's short, it's very short. You just walk down some streets and then you're done. But the whole mission of the whole mission in this game, the story mission, is go look at your fiance's wedding dress on display. Japan, what the hell are you doing? It's alright, you guys have redeemed yourself, because the remake of Final Fantasy VII is awesome. This is what I'm talking about. Like, it's all the fun of this. It's got a fast-paced, engaging combat system. It's got the role-playing elements to it. You can customize Cloud, the main character. You can customize all your characters. You can customize their weapons, abilities, different things like that. The world, though, is not super open world, and the story does progress rather linear. However, it is a long story, which is cool. You know, for people who, they want a lot of content, but they don't want just a giant open world filled with random content, this is the answer. It's a lot of content, but it's because the story is long. But it is a good story. I am liking this. I am going to be playing this a lot more for a while now. And yeah, this is also only part 1, like I said. So there's going to be a second part that finishes this up. So that's my opinion on RPGs and how I go about RPGs. I don't want open. The only reason I would want open world is for the sake of there not being load screens, because long load screens suck. Sitting there waiting for the game to load. But if you're just making this giant open world video game because that's the fad right now, and you're gonna cram it full of shit like take photos and go look at a wedding dress, no. Don't do it. Just don't make an open world game. Give your game a story, make it rather linear, let us play it. It's not complicated. Another RPG that I had here that I really like is Diablo 3. I like games like this as well. Dungeon crawling action RPGs. Diablo 3, Path of Exile, Grim Dawn, Torchlight 2. I love Torchlight 2. I have it on the Switch. All of these are really good choices, and some of them allow for more customization than others. Like Diablo 3, male, female, they can all be all the different classes. Stuff like Path of Exile is a little outdated. Like if you want to play a certain class, you have to be a certain race and look or not a certain race. You have to be a certain gender and look a certain way. That's kind of dumb. We'll see what they do with Path of Exile 2, but hopefully they kind of change that a bit. But I've played through Diablo 3 multiple times with multiple different characters. I love Diablo 3. It's another good game we like to play on the ship when we're out at sea. Diablo 3 in terms of RPGs. So next up we've got our more like action adventure-y kind of games, and I have 3 examples here. Technically 5 examples, because one of them is the Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6 trilogy on Nintendo Switch. And now some of you are probably thinking, whoa, wait a minute, action adventure games, those are horror survival games. Sort of. I mean, Resident Evil 4 was still sticking pretty traditionally to the horror survival genre of the series. But once you get into 5 and 6, it gets very actiony. And I don't hate that. When it comes to any kind of horror survival game, the appeal I find to that genre is when me and my buddies, when we're watching horror movies, all we're constantly doing is like analyzing and picking apart what these people are doing wrong. Why didn't you grab that to use that as a weapon? Why didn't you hide in the closet? Why didn't you wait for him and then surprise him and bash him over the head? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Well, with a horror survival video game, I get it, you want it to be scary, but scary and difficult don't necessarily have to be the same thing. A lot of times horror survival games, they limit you on what you are allowed to do in order to survive, and that bothers me because I'm telling you right now, if I myself was in a real horror survival situation in real life, I ain't playing by any rules. I'm gonna break them all just to live. So let me do that in the game. Like if I'm in a room, like let's say I'm in a bathroom and this dude's chasing me, let me turn down the hallway, like do it Fallout style. I turn down the hallway into the bathroom, I grab the fucking ceramic lid off the back of the toilet, I hide behind the door, and when the dude comes in the bathroom at me, let me jump out and bash him over the fucking head with it. Like, give me that much play it my way type of play style. You know, don't restrict me. I think the best example I can give of some really restrictive gameplay and horror survival is The Last of Us. I really don't like that game. I know the story is fantastic, but you start off the game, one of the earliest weapons you have is a semi-automatic handgun, and he's got, the main character, the guy you're playing, he's got multiple magazines to load into the gun, but for some reason he's only putting 4 rounds into each magazine. That makes no sense. Like, load each magazine to maximum capacity. Like, reloading takes time. While you're reloading, you could get killed. So if you have more bullets loaded ready to go, you're decreasing your chance of dying. The more you make yourself reload, the worse off you are. So when it comes to the horror survival genre, I do prefer when they are a little more action oriented, and that definitely fits these Resident Evil games right here. I'm thinking about trying some of the new remakes, like Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 3. I've asked my buddy who's played them both, Zach, and he says Resident Evil 3 it's not super actiony, but it is geared a little more towards action than Resident Evil 2, the remake of Resident Evil 2 is. So I might be picking that up to try here in the near future. Other than that, for action adventure games, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and the 2018 God of War game. These games have perfected action combat. They both have great stories, great characters, and the gameplay is top notch. Like doing an action game the way they used to be done. Like if you think about the way the old God of War franchise used to be, it was just a lot of button mashing and just hack and slashing enemies, unleashing combos over and over and over again until you killed them all. And then you went to the next room and there was a cutscene, and then after the cutscene, once again, just button mashing, doing combos, hack and slashing through enemies. It got old, and this is a prime example of how you can take a genre, you can take a game franchise that fits into a genre, and you can revitalize it and change a lot of it and have it still be fun. No one complained about this not being the same gameplay as the old God of War games. Everyone loved this. Another franchise that I wish would take a page out of this game's book is Devil May Cry. I think a year ago we got a new Devil May Cry game in the main series, Devil May Cry 5, and I was excited. I was like, oh man, maybe they're gonna, change things up like God of War did, and it's not gonna be just so like just mashing combos and slaughtering things until you hit a cutscene. Nope, you buy the game, that's exactly what Devil May Cry 5 is. They haven't changed anything, they didn't learn anything from this, and yeah, it's a shame. But there's even a good bit of like platforming and puzzle solving in these games that I find fun, and like I said already, the stories are great. So if I had to pick a genre, this is probably my favorite one. There's another sort of genre that I'm going to talk about in a minute, but if I had to pick just one of the most basic genres of video games, the like core genres, I'm probably picking action adventure games like these. So now we're going to get into the category of my kind of games I like that is the largest, and that is shooters. I didn't realize it was the largest that I had, but it turns out it is. Now, to start things off, I'm going to preface this whole discussion about shooters by saying that I will take a campaign shooter over a multiplayer shooter any day. Because I'm not going to devote enough time I don't have enough time in my life to devote to a multiplayer shooter, to being good enough at it to where it doesn't annoy the shit out of me. With the way my life is and how little time I have to spend on gaming, if I played a multiplayer shooter, I'd be dying left and right, and it would annoy the hell out of me, and I wouldn't be having fun. So I will take a campaign shooter over a multiplayer shooter any day of the week, and that's why I have games such as Wolfenstein for the Switch, really fun. Titanfall 2 had a really good campaign. I liked that one a lot. Really good sci-fi shooter. Battlefield 4 and the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare, they also have really good campaigns. So that's why I normally I stay away from things like Call of Duty now. I was into it when I was younger, but I watched a lot of reviews, and a lot of people that I work with talked about how like Modern Warfare, it's a return to form for the Call of Duty franchise. So I picked it back up. I've been playing the campaign, and so far, yeah, it's a lot of fun. And Battlefield's always been fun. It has that extra added aspect of like completely destructible environments, so I like that. I liked Battlefield 1, however, I thought it lacked a lot of replayability because its campaign is not really a campaign. It's a bunch of like episodic story missions, each featuring different characters, and once you played through each one, maybe once or twice, you're kind of like, I don't really want to play through them anymore. After that, all you've got is the multiplayer, which is fun, but like I said, ever since I joined the Navy and I work a lot and I've got a wife at home and we've just got stuff going on, I'm not really devoting a lot of time to multiplayer shooters. So this is, I've in the past I can tell you that I've loved it, but nowadays it's probably not too high on my list. And now, my favorite shooter franchise probably ever. I also really like Halo, I should add. I like Halo a lot. I don't have any of the Halo games right now, but I do like Halo. But my favorite shooter franchise of all time, for sure, Gears of War. I've got 1 through 4 here. I haven't picked up 5 yet, and it's because I'm still trying to learn more about it before I buy it, because I've heard that it's a bit different. It's a bit of a change up from what we normally expect from Gears of War. 1, 2, and 3 are classics. Gears of War 1, the Ultimate Edition, might be with the enhanced graphic remastering for the Xbox One, it might be my favorite Xbox game. It just might be. And if it's not Gears of War 1, it's probably Gears of War 2, even though it's still just a 360 game. Gears of War 3, I liked it. However, it was kind of like, when you call a franchise, like when you base the story of a franchise around a war, but then you end that war but keep the franchise going, it seems weird to me. And Gears of War 3, it was kind of, fair enough. It was the conclusion to the war, but I didn't really see much of a war. Like, it was pretty one-sided. By the time you got to this point in the story, it was pretty one-sided. Like, the human beings were on the verge of defeat, but I guess they weren't totally dead yet. And then with Gears of War 4, I liked it. I liked the gameplay. I liked the graphics. But once again, it's like, this is called Gears of War. There's supposed to be a war going on. There's not really a war going on. There's the possible beginnings of a new war starting. And like I said, I haven't played 5 yet, but it just felt a little weird for me to be playing a Gears of War game. And I'm like, what's the war? Like, what side is fighting which side? You know what I mean? So, still my favorite shooter franchise game series of all time, and that will probably never change. I love third-person shooters, especially when they have a cover system like this. It feels good moving, ducking from cover, attaching to a new piece, jumping to the next piece, especially with Gears of War 4 when they introduced things like if you saw that a guy was coming towards you where you're hiding behind cover, once he gets close enough, you can like hit a quick time command to real quick reach around, grab him, and just stab him with a combat knife. And then let's not forget the chainsaw bayonet. Like when you're getting overwhelmed and you need to just wreck a dude, or you see he's getting too close to where you're hiding behind cover, pull away from the cover, hit B, rev that shit up, and just, oh, it's fun. Favorite shooter franchise of all time. And now we're gonna get into that weird genre that I said we would talk about, and this is what I call the hybrid genre, because there's some games in here, namely two series, that are, in a way, they are hybrids of my two favorite genres, which are campaign shooters and RPGs. It's two of my favorites blended into one, and that is stuff like Borderlands and Fallout. They both have RPG aspects, they both have shooter aspects, so this makes it a really unique and very appealing genre to me, because I feel like I get the best of both worlds. Like I said, if I had to pick a favorite, traditional genre, I'm probably going to go with the action-adventure games, but I do really like shooters, and I do really like RPGs, and I like I said, campaign shooters with a story and a purpose to what you're doing, and this stuff like this gives me that. So I really do like these a lot. A lot of people kind of said Borderlands, they thought Borderlands 3 was just, it's nothing new, it's just another Borderlands. Same gameplay we're always used to, lots of guns, nothing really crazy and new. Same thing with Fallout 4, nothing really all that new, but I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So, personally, I love both of these games, and I cannot wait to see what else we get. I fully intend to get Borderlands 1 and 2 on the Switch, because then I can take them with me when I travel. I can take them with me better, I guess. They'll be more portable. Fallout 4, I'm waiting to see Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas put on the Switch, as well as the original Mass Effect trilogy. Like, come on, what the fuck are you people doing? Give us that shit. But yeah, Fallout and Borderlands 3 fall probably my favorite genre, in that they are a hybrid of two genres that I love, shooters and RPGs. So yeah, that's that. That kind of covers the kind of gamer that I am and the things that I like. I do play some RTSs on the computer, such as like StarCraft here and there, but once again, it's mostly campaign based. I'm playing it for the story. I like the lore of StarCraft. I do play some of those action RPGs like Diablo on PC. I play Grim Dawn and Path of Exile on PC. I play Final Fantasy XIV, the MMO on PC. And I played the original Witcher 1 game on PC for a while, but anyone who's played that game, it's a struggle. I'm trying to think of anything else. I like the Total War series. I played Rome, Empire, and Napoleon. I like those games a lot. It kind of combines like Sid Meier's Civilization, but with some real-time strategy combat going on, so it's fun. And what else? Warhammer 40k Dawn of War and Dawn of War 2. I played a couple of the expansions for Dawn of War 1, like Winter Assault and Dark Crusade, I believe. And I don't know, I'm kind of moved away from 40k permanently in my life, and I don't think I'm ever going back. So that's me pretty much. That's me as a gamer in a nutshell. Let me know what you guys think. If anyone out there is similar, or if you, based on this, you could recommend me any good games that you think that I would love to play. Let me know. I'll look them up and take them under consideration. If you guys want to see Let's Play videos of stuff, or like just like playthrough videos of me playing on the PlayStation some of these games, or on the Xbox, let me know. I'll try to work on getting that done. Other than that, I guess if you saw the kind of games that I'm into and none of them are the kind of games you're into, I guess this might not be the channel for you, but don't rush to that conclusion. I do talk about like a lot of other stuff on here: comic books, movies, games, comic books, movies. I'm trying out you can see over here on the shelf, I've got some like toys and collectibles. I put a video out doing a toy unboxing, like a collection video unboxing, just to see if people latched onto it. So there might be more of that to follow, but other than that, it's going to be, mostly like just nerd news and comics, books, games, movies, TV. I am going to start doing a weekly comic book video about all the comics I pick up. I've started buying single issue comic books again, so stay tuned for that. The first video of that will probably be up tomorrow. Other than that, check out the Facebook page, The Chad Nerd. It should be a picture of a same little icon as what I have on YouTube is the profile pic for the Facebook page. Other than that, like my video, leave me some comments, give me some feedback, subscribe to my channel please, and other than that, I will see you guys next time.